Ever become bored in the winter because of the cold and snow? Ever try and think of things to do and you're stuck inside? There is something that is a sport that only takes place in the winter, and that is snowboarding. It gives you active outside and maybe a little traveling involved. Throughout this speech, I'm going to inform you on all the things about snowboarding, like what it is, the history, and other things about it. Snowboarding is a sport that takes place in the winter that involves going down a slope in a sideways stance while your feet are on a board, strapped into bindings, holding you in place. You have to have certain gear to properly ride a board. They make certain boots that are stiff and uncomfortable, but they do hold your ankle and foot in tight so you can ride safely. The sport today did not just become to someone one day and become such a unique way to go down a hill and a unique sport to do in the winter. It has developed over time. The idea behind snowboarding was from a couple other sports that were around at this time, and those were skateboarding, surfing, sledding, and, of course, skiing. In the United States, it was about the time of the 60s that it became known. It all started by a man named Sherman Poppern, and a little fun fact is that he was from Muskegon, Michigan. He invented the idea of it by one day of putting his daughter's skis together, tying a rope in the front for stability and control, and going down the hill in a sideways stance instead of being face forward. It was a big hit, and slowly companies branched from that idea and made their own idea of a snowboard. Yes, it was different from the one today, but it was a start. As time went on, they ditched the rope and the two skis and made it one board to the design it is today. Now today, there is just one style of snowboard, but there are different types of boards for different styles and terrain to ride on. When choosing and looking at boards, different things come into play, like where will you ride mostly, how tall you are, and how much you weigh, and other things as well. The first type of board is the all-mountain board. So that is a board for riding whatever the resort has to offer. It is a general and safe style to choose. It is one that is most popular because it is so basic. Next is a park board or freestyle. These boards are for all sorts of fun. These are for riders who are spontaneous in and outside of the park. They are lightweight and give a lot of different terrain, so they are more for fun. Lastly is a powder board. That is one for more natural ride that gives you the ability to float on the fluffy snow. Yes, they all give you the sense of the same thing, but if you choose one certain to one type of thing you'll ride the most, it'll affect you in a more positive way. And even after looking at all those things and looking at a board, you can go into more depth and look into the flex, feel, and the shape of board. You don't think of it when looking at a board that it goes into much of this deep of thought and decision making, but it can affect how you feel and ride. The flex of the board can majorly affect the way it rides. Stiff boards react quickly to offer a powerful feel that pops hard off jumps and stays in control at speed. They also are less forgiving and more likely to catch an edge. With that is what you really don't want, especially when you're a beginner. So, with not wanting a stiff board, you look into how it feels and the flexibility of it. That is known as like the profile of the snowboard. A big part of any snowboarder's identity comes from its profile. And not too long ago, all boards were made with a traditional camber, but that has all been a recent change to all of that. Though every company makes its own snowboards profiles ride a little differently, they all fall into the four basic categories. Those are camber, which is a board that offers the most pop, control, and stability of any profile, but are less forgiving and harder to keep on top of the powder or snow. Then there is a rocker. That is a board that partially has a lift to the edges and keeps the nose of the board out of the snow and lets you ride on top of it so you don't sink and get stuck. Also, there are known as a hybrid board. Those use both rocker and camber in different areas to combine some of the benefits of each of the board. And these are also the most popular ones because of they adapt to depending on how you ride. And also depends on how much you ride. If each style is used and where, the boards can ride closer to one or the other in the spectrum. Lastly is flat boards. They are somewhere between hybrid and traditional camber style. They are a design that has balance, control, pop, and forgiveness, but with that, they are more likely to catch an edge, so most beginners stay away from that. Now that you know the complex of the boards, now to be informed on where to ride these boards. And there are different kinds of riding out there that you see but never knew the naming of it. Along with the many types of boards out there are quite a few styles that people ride. They are free riding, freestyle, urban, half pipe, and border cross or racing. The names pretty much explain themselves, but to some they may not, just go over your head. The most known and done is free riding. That is riding at anyone's pleasure in any terrain on a mountain. This type is best explained by the pursuit of riding huge peaks, but is not just restricted to that. Riding natural features and adding your own element and style to it as you go, and the only thing that you are limited to is the mountains. With that, you have to watch out for avalanches with being adventurous because they are easy to happen, especially if you're by yourself. After that comes one similar to it, that is freestyle riding. Whether in parks, backcountry, or urban areas, the broad term related to riding where tricks are performed and your creativity flows. Freestyle riding is and continues to be a popular style of riding because of the progression of features and tricks. Its future is only restricted to one sense of creativity and your skill level. A type of riding that can be confused with freestyle is urban. That is because it is such a style that you can ride anywhere and to do anything, but is mainly done in a park or an area that is not on a slope, but a man-made area, such as handrails, walls, parking spaces, and more. This type is a more of its own style and also is called street riding because of all the things I just listed above. It has changed in the last handful of years as the level of snowboarding has further adapted to its surroundings. Most young riders do ride this as it continues to be such a unique way to ride. The most watched style, and the one that amazes most people, is the half pipe. That is, which takes a high amount of skill and also made popular by the last 4 Olympics. This involves performing tricks while riding through a huge U-shaped feature at high speeds, adapted from the sport of skateboarding. The half pipe has changed so that the riders can ride faster and reach higher altitudes in the air for a better score, and also event more unique tricks. However, this style of riding is more dangerous and, well, is costly limited. Another style of riding that has made its debut of the Olympics is border cross or snowboard racing. What takes place in this style is racing down a slope or a slalom or even a giant slalom. It is an adaptation of BMX riding where 4 riders ride down a course of bumps, and racing is also a timed race through a series of gates. The neat part of this, it is mainly in association with similar ski racing, while deemed an Olympic sport. It does also struggle to attract young riders simply because it is time consuming and not as free riding or slopestyle. Now that you know all the ins and outs of the sport I love and actually do it for a job, I hope it makes you want to try it. It is a very complex sport, but is relaxing to do in the winter, and yes, there is skiing that is just as fun. There is a lot of history to it that makes the boring part, but talking about the different types of boards and styles of riding makes it interesting because you don't think so much can go into one simple doing. Snowboarding gets you active and is something to do and enjoy in the winter, as well as can let you travel all over the country and do it. It is so enjoyable to do in other places other than a resort close to home. I myself still find myself learning about new things about the sport as I continue to do every winter, and glad I decided to learn how to snowboard and chose to instruct it as a job. It is a great thing to do in the winter and might make you enjoy this cold and snow.